Okay, so what I'm making here is roux. Okay, this is, to put it easiest, this is the chef's duct tape. Okay, you're going to use this for everything from gravies to cream soups to anything that you want to thicken for a sauce. Okay, anything that breaks that you need to put it together, this is what you're going to use. Now, in the pan, I've put a pound of butter. Okay, and we need to wait for it to start to bubble. Alright, because when you put the flour in, it's going to drop the temperature. You don't want it to drop too much. Okay, so you want to wait until it starts to sizzle. Like, I don't know if you can see the top now, but it's starting to bubble and sizzle a little bit. Alright, and I have two tools. I have a whisk and I have a wooden spoon. Okay, now the wooden spoon we'll use later. You want to cook this at a relatively quick heat. Okay, but the trick is to cook this. So I'm up at 8 on my electric stove, and yeah, I prefer gas, but this is what we have. So now that you can see that it's starting to bubble and sizzle, what you're going to do is you're going to start adding flour. Okay, and you're going to sprinkle it over the top until you get a decent amount in. And see how it's starting to sizzle? Okay. And you're going to take the whisk and you want to start mixing that in. Now, this is a chef's pan. It's made so that you can do this. You can have two different motions at one time in the pan. And that's important. It helps you mix things, it helps you get it more consistent, and it helps you control things. Okay. Now, we got that. It's not thick enough yet, so we're going to add a little bit more flour. We're going to turn this down a touch now. Alright, now that we've got the motion going that we need here. Again with the whisk, this is going to help get everything in without spilling it all over your kitchen. You got to get it well mixed in to absorb that butter. Okay, that's the trick, is getting it to absorb the butter. Now, we're still a little too shiny, and I'm hoping you guys can see this with enough detail. It's not as flat as it should be a color. Okay. Now there's about 7 different kinds of roux. There's flavored roux. There's 4 different colored roux. It depends on what you're making and what food you're using. So if you're doing a Creole or a gumbo, you want a brown roux or a red roux. And I'll show you guys how to do those later. Same basic process, just more cooking. We're going to switch from the whisk, and I want to go to my wooden spoon because I don't want to be ruining the bottom of my pan. Okay. Now this is a 14-inch chef's pan, or what they call a saute pan. Heavy grade aluminum, Teflon coating. It's an industrial Teflon coating. So it's made to take a reasonable amount of abuse. Now, the other thing, for you people who like to use cast iron cookware, hunters and stuff like that when you're out in the woods, if you need to season a pan, there is no better way to season a cast iron pan than doing a couple of batches of roux. Okay, now this is going to take a couple minutes, and it may be kind of boring for you, but I need to show you the cooking process because it's important. A lot of this is done by sight and by feel. Okay, see how there's no excess liquid anywhere around the edges. It's almost kind of like a big heavy pancake. Alright, that's important. Now, keep your edges clean so that nothing scorches. Okay, now we got it back up to sizzling again. I don't like it because there's a little bit of butter on the surface yet. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit of flour over the top. Okay. Now, a lot of times in recipes, you know, where they tell you, before you start sauteing your vegetables, throw some butter in there and you throw 2 tablespoons of flour in there or whatever. Basically, that's what you're doing, is you're making roux in the bottom of the pan. Okay. Here, I'm making up a large batch because I use it a lot. This is, like I said, this is something you keep in your kitchen. It'll store for months. cover it lightly, keep it in a cool, dark place. It'll never spoil, it'll never go rancid, it'll never get moldy. You'll never have an issue with this stuff. Okay, this is actually kind of a small batch for me. Now, because, you know, like I said, I like to keep it around, so I make enough that I don't have to make this all the time. Now we're going to let that fry a little bit. Now there's other ways that you can do this. If you want to, you can also do roux by doing it in the oven, and you can bake it. Okay, that takes a little longer, but then you don't have to stand over the frying pan and do this. So basically what you do is you get it to this consistency. See how it's nice and dry now? There's no shiny spots. That's what you want. Now to cook it, we're going to let it go. I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit more, because now what I want to do is I want to cook that pasty flavor, that flour flavor out of it. You don't want it to taste like raw flour. This is a baked product, okay? It's a finished product. So when you pull it out, it's ready to use. To do that, you need to get rid of that pasty flavor that flour will leave behind. That's why you need to cook it like you do, okay? Now again, and you can't hear this, probably not, but you can hear where it's starting to almost sizzle on the bottom of the pan, okay? And you'll see there's a little bit of steam coming off. That's a good sign, okay? And we're going to keep moving it, and we're going to keep moving it. Do not let it sit still. If you let it sit still, that's when you're going to scorch it, and you're going to have a world of problems with it, okay? Now again, like I said, if you guys are using cast iron, or you know anybody that does use cast iron, making a batch of this stuff in there, perfect. Especially if you can do 3 or 4 batches of this in one cast iron pan. It'll season that pan better than anything you do in the oven ever will. You just cook the butter a little bit longer before you add the flour. Make sure you slop it up around the sides so that you get the sides of your pan covered. Okay, and that'll work for seasoning your cast iron pans too. Now normally, depending on what I was using this for, let's say if this was for jambalaya, I would be doing a brown roux, which would mean I would be cooking this until it started to lightly brown. This is what's called a white roux, okay? No seasonings, no nothing, just plain butter and flour. Okay, now you see how it's breaking up into hard chunks? Okay, now those will not stay hard. And we're starting to get a little bit of color change here. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we need to keep working it around, and I keep breaking it up. Otherwise, like I said, this will turn into one big pancake. Now when you store it, you're going to put it in a container without a tight lid. Saran wrap is fine. Just some Tupperware or something like that, so that you can take it out. Okay, and this will stay damp and moist, so that when you're thickening a soup, all you have to do is stick your whisk in it. You fill up as much as you think you need on the whisk. The whisk goes right into the broth that you're thickening, and you just whisk it until it dissolves away and thickens that gravy or that soup really nice. Okay. Again, I want to work it a little more. See, we're getting a little color change there. That's a good sign. Alright, yeah, this takes a little while, so, you know, be patient, but I want you to see what the finished results look like. Okay. So see how it's now, it's all kind of crumbly all on its own. Okay. That means most of the moisture, the extra moisture from the butter is gone out of it. But the butter creams and the salts and the flavors are still in there. Alright, what you're removing is the excess water. Okay. And that, my friends, is a white roux. Okay? Alright, you guys got any questions? You have a problem making it when you try and make it your first time? You get a hold of me on Facebook. You guys know where our page is. Look us up. You can find us there. And send me a message, and I'll walk you through it. It's not that hard. It's not that complicated. It takes patience. And it takes just knowing what it's supposed to look like. And you'll get that after a batch or two. Alright? Again, thanks for coming to Black Watch Cooking School. Make it simple for you. I'll see you guys on Facebook. Alright, bye now.